Hello everybody, welcome back to Factorio. This is John with Glass Piece Games, and you're watching Factorio episode 45, and I'm actually recording this before I've even uploaded the previous episode. But I have an idea. I did say last episode I was going to go to Aquilo. I ain't going there quite yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Novice and bring in some new ideas of revamping my a lot of my base. A lot of my base is based upon pre-legendary builds, and it is kind of slow. And part of the culprit is honestly just the way I have my multi-metal set up. Take my chemical science, for instance. You look at all these buildings, and I did use legendary beacons, but no legendary modules or legendary assembling machines. I have a legendary build up here. It's a lot more clean. It is a lot more efficient. If you remember my engines from way back when, I used to have about 6 of them making engines. Now I just have 1 engine block, not to be confused with an actual engine block, but you get what I mean. That is what I'm going to be doing this episode, and maybe Aquilo next episode. Let's get started. With the similar concept of the chemical science right here, this is basically the maximum amount that I can make my legendary assemblers craft, because it's a 3x3. This is not necessarily the be-all end-all. I can use a different pattern, but to me this is a nice, kind of very well-defined design right here. The locations of where these are currently at do not really matter. I'm just having them as just kind of a just sort of as a template. With these around for my utility science, I can get 19.6 per craft, or not per craft, but about 19.6 in a second per machine. So you do the multiplication on that. I'm going to pull up a calculator real quick. It's 19.6, so let's do 19.6 times 16, and you get 313. Do the calculations on this, it is going to be 11.4, so it's not going to be as fast, but it's still going to be good enough. 11.4, just a little under 200. So we got 180 science a second. It's not bad. In fact, if we take a look at all what we got here, 0.58 times 36, and then we're going to multiply that by 8. 167.04. Now, mind you, this whole setup right here is not using any sort of legendary modules or legendary modules or buildings. All of this is only 167.04, and like I said, this right here is more. I have my engine blocks being made at a rate that actually I could use that template as well. I might go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and redo this setup just right quick. Alright, so I have this unit. This is my first bit, and I'm actually out of speed modules. Thankfully on Vulcanus we have speed modules, but I do have my chemical science now being made, and this looks kind of nice. I mean, let's take a look at our production for it, shall we? We have our engine units that are definitely a lot faster than what they used to be. At least right now, we're making a pretty steady 10,000 a minute, but it's a lot better because everything's just going to 4 machines. Each of these, it used to get divided 4 belts into a whole bunch of different machines, and I think the reason you want to go with less machines is there's less having to divide stuff up. You can just put it all in one machine. Yes, they're still dividing in between 4 machines, but that's 4 machines versus 288. Let's divide that by 16. 18. So basically what we got here is 2 of these machines are doing more than 2 rows of what I used to have. And as soon as my freighter, which is it is at Aquilo right now, which by the way, it did drop by Aquilo and get an upgrade to the power. As you can see, I got all legendary generators and reactors, and as you can see, instead of 400 megawatts, we got a whole gigawatt for this monster. I'll do with my utility science what I did with my chemical science. I think I'll probably need to start looking at my automation science and logistics science as well. Automation science is fine. Logistics science is fine. In fact, they're both fine right now. This whole setup I got going, I can really make a lot smaller than it is. Not before I get my utility science. It's 4 blocks, and if we take a look at each one right here, we got 1.18 seconds. This is going to be 16, 32, so 128 times 1.18. 151 science packs made a second, and if I'm not mistaken, what? Oh, no. Before I was rudely interrupted by a biter hatching on one of my ships, go back to this, and 16 times 19.6, and what do we get? we get 313. Double production, size it down a quarter. This sounds pretty similar to basically what we did down here with our chemical science. We're getting times 8 in this small amount of space, and it does seem to be a little bit more effective, at least as far as timing goes. I don't have to wait for stuff to go across belts all the way. So now I have just one block making the utility science, and look at that. I'm actually starting to stack it. I wasn't stacking it ever. I just realized that like half of my designs don't actually stack the science. Let's take a look within the past 10 minutes. Yeah, our utility science, it did jump up to about roughly around 7,000 a minute. We're at 115,000. Wow, 115,000 research per minute. What it is cool is I've seen as high as 150,000 per minute, which is a crazy number to think of, considering the fact that just last episode or two, around maybe 60 to 70,000. 19,000 utility science in a minute. See, this is the benefit of this sort of setup versus having a whole bunch of them. I should have been doing this a little bit earlier on. I feel like perhaps I would have been in a little bit of a better spot. May take a little while for my robot frames, unfortunately. Really, the biggest consumer is going to be the low density structures. Since I'm on to using legendary buildings though, I want to take a look. With the foundries, the biggest thing that we're using them for, I would say, are low density structures, which I still right now have a pretty decent amount. I mean, honestly, this is kind of overkill. We have 7.79 a second, and I have 96. Technically, the ones at the ends are going to be 6.55, so we could do some math on the calculator real quick. 9 times this. Well, each of these, 67 made in 1 second from one machine. 67.7 times 9. We get 609. 7.79 times 80. Yeah, 623. Yeah, just a little bit less. And that's considering all these are already legendary. This is 600 in 1 block versus 4 blocks. That I would just rather do 1 block, even if we just did 4. 4 times 67, that's still going to get us about 250. We can not only use that very efficiently, but just have everything condensed down in 1 spot. That should be what we'll do next. All right, so I went ahead and used 8. I didn't go with 9, but I went ahead and used 8 of my legendary foundries and legendary setup here to get me roughly around 67.7. So we multiply that times 8, a good 541 a second. Now, what's even more impressive is something I actually have on Vulcanist. We have a single cryogenic plant. This one machine makes 991 plastic a second. There it goes. This thing could technically output more. There's only so many spots. I guess I can only have one more spot. So if you're wondering, the power is of the cryogenic plants. There you go. You just have one machine, do all the plastic. That might be it for this episode. I am running into a problem. I no longer have space science. As you can see, I'm actually running out of space science. That means that we need to actually get a freighter that specifically makes space science. I don't need A, B, C, D, and E. With that being said, I think that will be next episode. Alongside of maybe redoing my base level science. This new concept right here, I'm loving the idea of just surrounding each building with the maximum amount of beacons that you can use. This is John with Glass Piece Games. Y'all have a good one. I'll see y'all next time.